E-commerce, as we know it, is dead. As Warren Buffett once said, when the tide rolls out, you'll see who's been swimming naked. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a minute, but let me tell you what I'll be covering in this video. First off, we'll talk about how e-com stores are about to get squeezed. Then we'll talk about how to protect yourself now if you're already doing e-commerce. And finally, I'll share a couple of opportunities on how you can diversify your e-com business and still come out with some profits this year. Now, real quick, before I unpack these topics, I just want to say to anyone who's thinking about starting an e-com business right now, while I think e-commerce as a business model is amazing, and I love the e-com courses and trainings and stuff like that are out there, their training is based on the old world of international import and export. And no one can really say what the future of drop shipping is going to look like in 3, 6, 12 months from now. Of course, no one can predict the future either. I'm just pointing these things out because there's a lot changing, and I'd just be cautious about starting an e-com store right now. It might be wise to wait until the fog on all of this tariff stuff kind of clears out, okay? Now, with that being said, let's get into it. Here's what's happening now. Dropshippers, which, if you don't know, dropshippers are basically like a middleman in between product suppliers, a lot of them being in different parts of the world, and the e-commerce stores. Okay, so the dropshipper is who tends to buy lots of products, warehouse them, and then ship those products on behalf of e-commerce store managers. All right, so when an order comes in from an e-commerce store, it goes to the dropshipper, who then basically fulfills that order on behalf of the store. So they're kind of invisible. They're a middleman as far as this little e-commerce supply chain works. And I think there's potential to see some real confusion and disruption in this middle market. Dropshippers have made it 10 times easier for all of us to open an e-commerce store. They're very price sensitive, and all of this confusion that our president has caused here is going to cause a lot of these small business middlemen to get caught kind of swimming naked as price and tariff swings basically whiplash these businesses. So you may have thought, oh, these tariff things are applying to like automakers and stuff like that, bigger conglomerates around the world. But I just got a note, and the reason I wanted to create this video is I just got a note yesterday from TikTok, basically as a store owner over there and a certified shop seller on TikTok. Here, let me bring this up for you on screen. What it's talking about is that the de minimis exemption, which is basically something that has exempted most of what we sell as e-commerce store owners, which is products that are under $800, have traditionally been exempted from all of this tariff nonsense. What's happening now is starting May 2nd, that de minimis exemption is going away. All of these massive increases in tariffs, in particular with China and Hong Kong and that region, are going to be applying to the very products that we as e-com store owners are selling. That again goes into effect on May 2nd. I would look it up. I'll leave a link to this in the description below. And you know what? I would also expect potential changes between now and 3 weeks from now when this is supposed to go live. I wouldn't be surprised if, because they seem to be all over the place on this stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a change again. Okay, so it's causing a lot of confusion though, and this is why I recommend sort of waiting on the sidelines if you're thinking about getting into e-commerce. Now, who among these dropshippers could really see all of this stuff coming? Who among us e-commerce store owners could really see all of this stuff coming? Like, in order to ride out these kind of storms, you essentially either have to have a huge cash flow or you have to start to diversify your business. I'm going to talk about that in a second. For big conglomerates, it's a little different because they've got the kind of cash flow and supply chain management to sort of absorb some of this. And they've also got a little more pricing power than you and I have as really small micro e-com businesses, okay? Which just means that if Target can raise prices across all of their goods by 2%, they can kind of maybe handle a lot more of these expenses because they've got a ton of products and huge scale compared to you or I who if the price of a t-shirt or a sweatshirt goes up by 30% from our suppliers, then it's really hard for us to turn around and change the prices on our products to our customers by 30%. But that's what we have to do to maintain the razor thin margins we already have to work with, right? So that's out there. The other thing that I think is a threat this year, which I'm not really going to get into because nothing's happening with it yet, but there's been a lot of stuff happening with the federal agencies and nothing really yet with the U.S. Postal Service, but I wouldn't exempt them from having some sort of disruption this year. And it's already Q2. This is already the time when most ecom businesses that are really successful have already made plans or are in the middle of planning their Black Friday and holiday stuff. So what that means is, if we see any disruptions or big changes to something like the U.S. Postal Service, which most of us use as e-commerce providers, like that's who delivers most of our packages in the U.S., then that could be a huge impact to us. But again, nothing's happened yet, so I'm just kind of leaving that on the sidelines for now, but it's on the radar and I am a little worried about it. Now, here's the thing. There's always opportunity in the middle of confusion and chaos, and I'm going to talk about where I see the opportunities here in just a minute. But first, I want to get into my second point, which is if you have an e-commerce store now, then there's some certain things that you should be doing to protect yourself from losing money, okay? And that is go into your store and make sure that your product prices are auto adjusting with the underlying price of your products from your dropshippers. I know that a lot of, like if you use Shopify and then you connect with Printful or Printify or some of those dropshipping providers, then essentially you can set up a situation where your store price, the price that your customer sees, is automatically adjusting based on fluctuations to the underlying product price, like the supplier price. So you want to be sure you're doing that so that you're not potentially charging $38 for a sweatshirt on your store, and then you turn around and find out that an order was placed and it's costing you $45 just to get that sweatshirt and print it. Okay, so you don't want to get caught in the middle like that. So make sure you're auto adjusting prices. If you're not, and you've got a big store and you've got lots of products, then look at how you can set up that kind of auto price adjustment so that at least you're not losing money on a sale. And then the last thing that I just wanted to touch on here is that the bottom line is, as a e-commerce entrepreneur, you want to be thinking about the future right now. Should you be putting aside a chunk of products now for the holiday season? For example, if you had something that sold pretty well last holiday season, then maybe the next few weeks is a chance for you to sort of get your hands on as much of that supply as you can afford to sort of set yourself up for having something that you can sell profitably later on this year, okay, and getting that stuff stored someplace and ready for you. I would also suggest, can you find products to source from other suppliers, maybe outside of the countries that are the worst impacted? I would suggest looking into that, and I think that's still going to be worthwhile. The landscape is changing, but as it stands right now, we've applied these tariffs across virtually every country we do any kind of business with. So the de minimis exemption stuff is right now only applying with China and Hong Kong, which unfortunately the majority of e-commerce products are coming from there. But there may be opportunity with other countries if you can find supply and supply chain providers from those countries. And hopefully the dropshippers will be able to find that as well. Keep an eye on your dropshippers is the other thing, right? You want to make sure that an order placed is going to get fulfilled and that your dropshipper is staying in business. So make sure that you're subscribing to any kind of alerts that your dropshipper provides via email or messages or whatever. If you've got an account manager, stay in touch with them, because you want to be the first to know if, for example, they're going to be folding their business or making big material changes to the way they do things, so that you don't get caught with orders from customers that you can't fulfill. Next, I would say think about how can you diversify your business? Like, what can you offer that is digital, for example, and doesn't have to cross borders physically? Maybe this approach would allow you to offset some of the uncertainty in your income this year. Like, for example, can you take designs and concepts that you've put onto like sweatshirts and stuff like that and bring those into the digital world in some way. Or if you discover a way to work within all of this change and all of these tariffs and stuff like that, then I would highly suggest to create a course that you can sell to help other e-commerce providers learn from you and learn how to do things in the way that you've discovered. On one hand, I know you may want to keep it to yourself for the competitive advantage, but at the same time, small businesses make up the vast majority of entrepreneurs and employed people in the US. And so anything you can do to help out your fellow e-commerce store providers would be well received, I'm sure, and it would help out things generally. Definitely think about doing that as a way to diversify. All right, and a minute ago, I talked about the opportunity that lies in the middle of all of this chaos. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. If you're in e-commerce and using dropshippers, then there's a good chance you like that business model because the product piece is done for you. The shipping is done for you. So your focus is really about bringing customers through the door and then taking care of those customers. Well, there's a similar business model for digital products, and it's called affiliate marketing. I'm sure you've probably heard of it, but the premise is the same. You work with an affiliate program. They do all the back-end product creation and delivery. They send emails on your behalf. And the good programs, like the one I'll link to in the description below, have a full line of products to offer so that you can make commissions on many products versus just once-off deals. Just like your store where you've got lots of products that you can cross-sell and stuff like that, this affiliate program does the same thing. Like with e-commerce, your job is just bringing customers to the storefront, and then you basically let the system take over and do the selling for you in this program. Of course, you can be as hands-on as you want, so you can even add bonuses or get really involved with your customers or not, right? So whatever fits your business model and your preferences. Anyway, this might be a good time to pivot and see how you can incorporate something like affiliate marketing with digital products into your business. Like I said, there's a good program I recommend below. They have a huge community and have been doing this for a decade plus. I've personally made thousands of dollars, but more importantly, I've learned a lot about online marketing and doing it in a good and sustainable way. So if that sounds like something that you might want to check out, then go to the description and look for that link below. And if you're wanting to explore more on digital product creation and that side of things, then think about subscribing to my channel. I'd love to have you on board. Hey, listen, if you found this helpful, then please give it a like. Hopefully I'm not stirring up too much stuff, but I do think it's a critical time for you to be thinking about this stuff, especially if ecom is kind of like where you've got all your eggs right now. And so I just want to see you thrive and do well and not become left behind by all of these changes. So anyway, subscribe to the channel, like the video if this helped you out. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions or comments about what's working for you or what you're seeing out there. I'd love to read about it, and we'll see you in the next video, okay?